this edition of Inside Texas Tech, we will sit down with Robert Wernsman to talk about his dedication to journalism and challenging students to push themselves. We will also take a look at how Texas Tech students are building friendships from high up in the sky. But first, we'll take a look at some national rankings and recognition that Texas Tech has received. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Inside Texas Tech. I'm your host, Robert Giovanetti. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, both the Rawls College of Business and the Texas Tech School of Law landed positions on the 2014 Princeton Review. All that and more in this month's Around Campus. This past October at Texas Tech University, the College of Education was awarded several grants. The university found itself at the top of some important lists, and the School of Law found national recognition. U.S. Education Secretary Arne Duncan awarded 6 grants to improve student achievement by increasing the effectiveness of teachers and principals. Tech was one of the grantees through the National Institute for Excellence in Teaching. The university will receive about $4.7 million to provide services and certification programs to teachers and administrators in schools around Texas. The college was ranked number 5 of the top 25 university fundraising teams for 2013 by Michael Chapman, the founder of Philanthropy Speakers Agency. Universities were selected based on overall satisfaction from donors and fundraising professionals who work for the university. Texas Tech University School of Law and Rawls College of Business both landed positions in the 2014 Princeton Reviews, the best 169 law schools and the best 295 business schools. The Cross-Cultural Academic Advancement Center hosted the Open Teaching Concept designed to teach diversity across the curriculum. This year's theme was Civil Rights, Human Rights, Questioning the Pursuit of Happiness. It featured lectures and co-curricular events that took place over 2 weeks. On campus for only 6 months, Tech President Dwayne Nellis has already made his first big hire, naming Robert V. Duncan to the position of Vice President for Research. Currently, Duncan is the Vice Chancellor for Research at the University of Missouri, and he will assume his new role January the 1st. And an amazing find for a Tech physicist whose new spectroscopic camera captured a day-old supernova 73 million light-years from Earth. Researchers at Caltech and Las Cumbres Observatory Global Telescope Network captured a rare image of a star in another galaxy going supernova within a day of the star's explosion. David Sand, an assistant professor in the Department of Physics, led the development and operations of the special spectroscopic camera, which was used to help identify the specific kind of supernova. There are only 2 in the world, in Hawaii and Australia. Texas Tech University has one of the most comprehensive departments for students with disabilities in the state, where the staff provides a variety of accommodations and services for individuals with disabilities. The program is more than just accommodations, however, and Tech continues to invest in the future of the department.
There's been a emphasis on accessibility campus-wide, and not just in the buildings themselves, but in the programming itself. And that's a huge thing because when you're talking about safety for students, you're not only talking about safety, being able to physically get in and out of buildings with ease, but you're also talking about a welcoming environment, an environment where they feel welcome and safe to be in when they're requesting certain types of accommodations and not feeling like they're different.
Shelby Morgan has a hearing disability and has experienced firsthand the support other students provided in times of need.
I was trying to find a room and I couldn't find it. And I kept asking people, and people respond very softly in buildings. They like whisper, and I read lips pretty well, but I'm just like, I can't hear you. And they think I'm crazy, and they just kind of walk away from me, and I'm like, I need to find this room. So someone was like, are you okay? And I was like, yes, I just can't hear anybody because they're not speaking loud enough. And so then she spoke really, really loud and was like, well, what do you need? And I was like, I need a room number. And she was like, okay. And so she took me to that room. I don't know, I guess she just understood that people just talk too quietly sometimes, and she helped me with that.
These organizations at Tech help people with disabilities through encouragement and understanding.
There is an organization for almost every disabilities. I'm in Silent Raiders, and that's great because that's for me for the hearing. And then I have a blind friend that came here. She graduated last December, but she was very involved in for leadership within disabilities. You should embrace it. It's a part of you. It's something that you have to deal with.
Shelby's companion's name is Fritzy, and this service dog keeps her alert.
Well, I guess I always had the strobe light. It's in my bathroom, and so if the bathroom door is closed, I can't see it, and I don't know that there's an alarm going off outside. My bathroom door was closed, and the fire alarm is going off, and it's a man's voice that says, "This is a fire alarm." and I don't hear deep noises. And so Fritzy's like dancing around and at the door, and I'm like, calm down, can you stop? And I walk out the door, I'm thinking like, oh, there's people talking outside, and the fire alarm's going off, and I'm like, oh my goodness, well, thanks, I guess I'll head outside. I don't know how long that's been going off.
It's not just about finding help, but building confidence to ensure students with disabilities have just as many opportunities as anyone else.
There's a real evolution, if you will, in the whole approach to disabilities in higher education, that it's no longer a stigma, it's no longer something to hold you back, but it's just a difference that you have, a difference in the way you learn, a difference in the way that you approach how you're going to be a successful college student, and that there's all kinds of academic supports that are now available that didn't used to be there.
And we just hope to continue to grow. We hope to continue to have our students be more successful and continue to follow their dreams and attain things they didn't even know they could do. And so is that more internships, more practicums, greater retention rates. There's always more you can do. So yes, we've received some recognition and people have talked about the variety of programs and services that we offer. There's always more we can do. And so we will never stop trying to figure out how to reach more students and how to, aid them to the very best of their abilities.
During Robert Wernsman's 20 years on campus, he has been more than just a journalism professor in the College of Media and Communication. He's been an inspiration to those he has taught, and his class, a rite of passage for area journalists and Texas Tech alums. We sat down with Mr. Wernsman as well as his former students to talk about his lasting legacy.
I'm just going to tell you, summing up Mr. Wernsman in one word, I'm sure that everybody else has done it, but it is really hard.
If I have to go with one word, passionate, because he's truly passionate about his career in journalism and teaching so many others how to succeed and how to do it right.
At first scary, but once you get to know him, because he's really intimidating, but what he's asking you to do is just be a reporter.
I would have to say influential.
But they're not going to ask you what is a past participle.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Do you know what a past participle is? You know what a future participle is? Neither do I. I don't.
5 years after they graduate, they say, well, let me tell you about this one class I had. I want them to be talking about my class.
I used what I learned in that class every single day, because the most important thing he taught us was about how to tell the truth and how to be a good, responsible journalist.
If you work hard for him, you'll be fine. And I think that's the best advice that I can give to anybody taking his class, that might have heard, oh, well, he's really tough. Because I can tell you that was the hardest A that I earned in my entire college career, but it was so well worth it.
I think they get a greater sense of how important it is to do it right and to be ready to put their work right there and let everybody judge it. Back in 1998, I had a pain in my back. I had a tumor, as it turns out, on my left kidney. And, just from my experience after 15 years of this, having a tumor in your kidney, not a bad way to go. But a tumor in the kidney is feeding blood into your lung that's contaminated, and it plants cancer seeds. I want to be a survivor. Hey. If you want advice, get near me. You don't even have to ask. I'm going to give you advice. After 20 years here, I really do count myself as one of the luckiest people here. I don't have a PhD. I don't have to do research. I don't have to sit through committee meetings. I've got to bust my butt and grade papers and go to class and keep them online. But I get to do that. And there are a lot of people in this world who are unhappy because they do what they have to do or they can do, but they're not doing what they want to do. I've gotten to do what I want to do, and they've paid me for it. So, I'm good with that.
When we return, Chancellor Ken Hand sits down with David Arrington. He's the owner of David H. Arrington Oil and Gas.
In the blink of an eye, the world has changed.
30 years have come and gone. There have been wars and peace. Justice has been served and denied. Fortunes won and lost. And we've watched it all. On big screens and small. In the blink of an eye, it will be 2043. In the next 30 years, wars will be fought. Economies will crash. People will rise up. Nations will fall. And technology will evolve. Each new generation makes its own history. And a new generation of Frontline will be here to tell it. Frontline. Thought-provoking journalism, wherever and whenever you find us.
For 35 years, Byron Cowling has provided storage solutions and helped people move locally and across the state of Texas. Byron Cowling offers gated storage units as well as units with climate and dust control. Byron Cowling Moving and Self-Storage, located at 12007 South Indiana. More information is available at byroncowling.com.
Welcome back to Inside Texas Tech. Chancellor Ken Hance invited Red Raider David Arrington to his leadership class to talk about his business, David H. Arrington Oil and Gas. It's a multi-million-dollar company, but he started it with $20,000 in his pocket and going door to door for investors. Here's more.
We have a guest visitor with us today and speaker, Mr. David Arrington. He's been very successful in the oil and gas business. He's from Midland. He grew up in Dallas, went to Kimball High School, where he was a cheerleader and a pole vaulter.
I love being cheerleader, mainly because there were girl cheerleaders, but I loved pole vaulting. Pole vaulting, running track was kind of wonderful. Going over that pole, I just remember, going over the crossbars is one of the most thrilling things that I've ever done, except for this summer when I was in a little shark tank and the sharks were outside and I thought the gate was open. But other than that,
did you have any business or a job when you were in middle school, junior high, high school?
I had a couple. I started a snow cone stand. I sold Christmas cards door to door in the summer, and that was actually a good business. And then I had a yard business, and that was a really good business because I'd always have like a roll of like $10 was a lot of money in those days. I'd have a roll of $10 like that with the rubber band around it. When the Great State Fair of Texas would come in Dallas, I would always get a $100 bill, and my girlfriend Debbie Baker for 4 years, I'd go up to her door and I'd have a $100 bill and said, "We're not coming home till it's all gone."
And she would go with you.
That's what I call the best 4 years of her life. Yeah, I tell everybody I'm a legend in my own mind.
But you had a snow cone business. How
Yes.
old were you when you did that?
I was in the
business?
second grade on Belvoir Circle. And then I saw programs at the football stadium.
What football stadium?
Sprague Field was kind of the DISD football. I probably did stuff that I can't, you're kind of catching me cold, I can't even think of all the stuff.
What was the first business you remember? The snow cones?
Snow cones. Because mainly I did it like Bluebell. It was all I could eat and I sold the rest.
So you graduated in 83?
83.
And what was your first job?
Well, before that, I had 27 job interviews and I had 28 rejections.
Somebody rejected you twice?
Getty Oil sent me 2 rejection letters. I'll never forget, this was 83. First National Bank in Midland and failed in 81, so getting in the oil business was the wrong thing to be doing. But I was committed. I wanted to be in the oil business.
Why?
Well, because when I was at Tech, I met a guy in Borger, Texas, named Bill Willard, and he invited me up one weekend. And Bill was the quintessential oil man, and you just couldn't help but like old Bill. He had a spittoon and the cowboy boots, and he'd do all that stuff. And then he got a piece of paper one day, and I was in his office, and he gave me his time. And he said, "David, here's how you do the oil business. It's called a third for a quarter." And this was 33 years ago, and I remember it like it was yesterday. And he drew a little circle, and he said, "Okay, you get 3 guys to pay for the cost of drilling an oil well. And he drew a pie with 3 pieces, and he goes, you get Mr. A, and you get Mr. B, and you get Mr. C, and they pay for a third piece. And they get a quarter of the well, and he drew this pie in a quarter. And he said, you get Mr. A, he gets a quarter, Mr. B gets a quarter, and Mr. C gets a quarter. And he said, Mr. D, huh? D for David. I remember he did that. He said, D for David, and you get a quarter. So I didn't put up any of the money, and I got a quarter of an oil well.
For putting the deal together.
I said, I'm in. Where do I sign up? And an oil man was born. As a matter of fact, I had a girlfriend at the time, Linda Luter, and we'd been dating about a year. But I would, don't tell the chancellor this either, but I'd skip school a little bit, and I'd go up to Borger to see Mr. Willard to figure out about the oil business. And one day I come home, and Linda was engaged.
But not to you.
And no. And I was like, well, Linda, see, so I'd been gone so much and was so preoccupied with the oil business. I said, well, I thought just you and me were dating. She said, well, David, so, no, I've been dating old Jim Bob for 12 months, and you just didn't know it. And I said, okay, well, see you later.
When did you get married?
When I was 32.
But you were concentrating on getting that oil business going.
Yeah, I was pretty busy doing that, so I kind of forgot to get married. So, but I remember, and then
it should improve your chances.
Yeah. But I got to tell a story about my wife, because she really didn't quite know what I did. But I just sold a deal in 2008 for around $1 billion. And my wife knew that we were going to do it and all that, and just told how she's kind of.
That's 2008. You're talking about 5 years ago.
No, 2006. 6 and 7.
Okay.
Yeah. 8 was when everything went down. That was not a good year.
But you sold in 6 and 7 for $1 billion.
For about $1 billion.
Yeah.
And so, and that was a lot of money. And so, he's raised $1 billion too. So he actually raised more than that. So he's still ahead of me.
No, I didn't keep the $1 billion.
Okay.
I am not ahead of him.
Okay. All right. But anyway, and my wife knew that we were doing that. I've got 4 children. They're all boys except for 3, and we were all at the kitchen table, and we closed the deal that day. And I got home, and kind of got home, and I was expecting like something. I didn't know what, and so it's about at dinner time. I said, "Hey, honey, I closed that deal." She said, "Oh, that is great. That is great. Would you pass the potatoes?" I said, "Well, okay." So I passed the potatoes, and we started doing it, and that was it. So we just had a normal night. That's kind of how unaffected she is about things like that.
Pretty level.
So, yeah. So that's
I just sold $1 billion. I just made $1 billion past potatoes. But that's real good.
That's so guys, that's the kind of girl you want to marry.
Now I want you to kind of do a roundup here.
Okay.
He's got some
I
notes.
wrote down just a couple of things. This shouldn't take more than 3 or 4 hours. I wrote all that. Let me boil it down like this. We live in America, which I'm particularly proud of. America, we have opportunity daily. We have opportunity daily. We live in a country where we change leadership by voting and not by bloodshed. We have the deepest commerce of any economic power in the world. I'm glad to be an American. So if you're glad to be an American, let's hear it. Let's hear it for being an American. A lot of times we forget that because I know I do. Y'all are going to be graduates from one of the best higher education institutions in the country. How do y'all feel about that one?
Well, speaking of the Chancellor, recently he announced his retirement. He's going to retire in 2014. He has agreed to stay on as Chancellor Emeritus of the Texas Tech system. On the day he announced his retirement, our cameras were there. Let's take a look.
An era ended for Texas Tech University as Kent Hance announced his retirement as chancellor at the Board of Regents meeting.
I love Texas Tech, dream no little dreams, and God bless Texas Tech.
Having a history with this university for so long made this decision extremely difficult.
The things that brought me to this point to retire, I told people I'm not going to retire until I raise $1 billion. We hit that in February, but the campaign wasn't over until August. When the campaign was over in August, I started looking at what I was going to do.
A student, a professor, and eventually the chancellor, Hance committed his life to advancing this university.
And my goal when I got here, I made it simple, grow 40,000 at Texas Tech by 2020, Angelo State 10,000, Health Science Center 5,000. Y'all are at that now, you'll get to 7,000. And those were things that increase research, those are things, but also to be a friendly university that cares about the student. When I came to the system, we had 30,000 students. We now have 44,000 students, 45% growth. That's tremendous in this day and time.
His resume includes $200 million in research, 24% increase for degrees received, $670 million on construction for campus improvements, raised a little more than $1 billion months before the goal was set to be reached, and managed a system with 4 universities and 44,000 students. Reporting for Channel 5, I'm Lauren Vogel.
On deck, we jump into the pool to see how Texas Tech's water polo team, both men's and women's, are prepping for their upcoming season. And we take a look at how the Air Raiders are trying to become certified skydivers.
Where you belong. We all want to find others that share things in common with us. So we begin the journey to find a connection. Someone that we can relate to and can relate to us. All bound together by a common thread. It may not seem like much at first, but as things come into focus, we find ourselves as part of something powerful, something greater than ourselves. We're here. Let's connect.
This is Texas Tech University.
We inspire.
We discover.
We succeed.
We ride.
We share our traditions
and our innovations.
We are champions.
We work hard
and play louder.
We are many things.
But wherever we go.
And whatever we do.
Every day.
Every day.
Todos los días.
Every day.
Every day, we are Red Raiders.
Funding for this program is provided by Mr. Tom's Hair Salon and Day Spa. Mr. Tom's is located at 3630 50th Street and is open 6 days a week. Mr. Tom is a proud sponsor of Channel 5. More information is available at mrtomsalon.com or 806-792-4363.
Welcome back to Inside Texas Tech. Well, members of this organization have to maintain a 2.0 GPA and dedicate 5 hours per semester to student club service just to jump out of a plane. Talking about the Air Raiders. That is a student-led and operated organization here on campus, part of the United States Parachute Association. They're up 13,500 feet in the sky, falling and building lasting friendships. Our Lauren Vogel has more.
A group on campus is taking the empty space and open skies of the South Plains and spreading their wings, literally. These brave students are the Air Raiders, a skydiving club formed here at Texas Tech who want to make their place known as a recognizable and notable sport on campus.
In Tech, I know a lot is known for its sports. I mean, why not throw skydiving in there as another sport instead of just, just football, just volleyball, or just soccer, whatever we're known for,
Once we get all licensed, we actually can compete as Texas Tech University at collegiates. We compete against, schools from Arizona, across Texas, Army, Navy. You actually do actual competition skydiving in the sky, on the ground, and you get to represent your college.
Their ambitions are only matched by their love of the adrenaline rush. In other words, the sky is the limit. But as well prepared as the Air Raiders are, there still are some dangers.
2 jumps were my scariest. My first one was with my tandem, just because it was the first time jumping out. It was cold, so I was already shivering, I had butterflies going. jumped out, and that immediate, I didn't have that stomach drop, but like my breath was taken away. I was like, oh crap, you know, what am I doing? And then my 9th jump, I had my first malfunction. So I opened up, my main canopy was pinched in half, kind of like a bow tie. But I already knew, after so many classes and coaches talking to me, I knew my emergency procedures, so cut it away, my reserve popped out, and then I caught my breath.
As crazy as it sounds, some team members consider falling from 13,000 feet a stress relief.
I have fun doing this, it's relaxing, it's what I do whenever I get stressed out. So I mean, it's just fun out there. It seems like an adrenaline rush, but when you're out there, it's the only thing you're thinking about. You forget about everything that's going on, everything else. I like to go either right after or right before I'm about to take a test, because I'm freaking out about the test, and then jump out there and the only thing I'm thinking about is, hey, I gotta save my own life.
For more information on the Air Raiders, go to the club's Facebook page at Air Raiders Skydiving Club. Reporting for Channel 5, I'm Lauren Vogel.
Well, from high in the air to down in the water, our Lauren Vogel is back talking about a little-known sport here on campus, both tech, men's and women's polo, water polo, getting ready for their upcoming season. It builds skill sets and leaderships competing against other college athletes. Here's more.
The Men's and Women's Water Polo Club at Texas Tech University is a student-run organization that offers all current students the opportunity to participate in the dynamic and vibrant sport of water polo. It is open to all students, whether you are a veteran in the water polo pool or just a beginner. We jump in and give you an underwater look.
I hate to admit it, dated a Longhorn who played water polo at UT, so I knew that Texas Tech had club teams, and I went looking for them, found them, and one of my better decisions I've made here at Tech.
I swam for 12 years, and so I decided that after not swimming for 2 years and coming here to get back in the water and give this a try.
Even though the club makes water polo look easy, it's a lot harder than you think.
To be honest, just swimming a lot of laps does the body good for water polo. I'd like to think running and stuff helps, but until you just swim a whole bunch of laps, you're really not ready for a water polo game. And just learning how to tread water really well and just keeping up your endurance for swimming.
The fact that you can't touch the bottom of the pool, you constantly have to tread water and swim up and down the pool.
The women practice with the men to challenge themselves.
The guys are bigger and stronger than we are, so it's a good challenge in practice. I guess aggressiveness, if we can put a fight against the guys, then we should be able to put up a fight against other girls. So it definitely makes us more competitive.
Affiliated with the Collegiate Water Polo Association, the program is extremely competitive.
There's different regions across the whole nation. We're in the Texas region. We compete with UT, A&M, Rice, and Texas State. And we play 3 tournaments in the spring. That's our competitive season at UT, A&M, and Rice. And all teams come out, you get seeded. The first 2 seed you for the regional tournament. Winner of regionals goes on to national.
Come to practice and learn about it. Ask one of us, call us, because I had no idea how to play water polo. All I knew was that I could swim. And so it's fun to just learn and be able to throw the ball, and they're willing to work with you really well.
Reporting for Channel 5, I'm Lauren Vogel.
For all the stories you've seen tonight and more, go to KTTZ.org. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.